So, Lizzo, the regime's astroturfed embodiment of female empowerment, despite never having to have actually done anything for it, besides be a gelatinous, hypersexualized mass, has now been cancelled for being racist and fatphobic.
Lizzo.
And also very sexually empowered. She's transgressed lots of the progressive tenets, which is intersectionality and consent. So she's being hoisted by her own petard, the cultural standards that she helped reinforce and set up. We're going to go through some wild claims.
So
I interrupt this segment to bring you an important message about this stuff, the dollar. Not going so well, is it? Inflation is out of control and debt is even more out of control. In fact, the US government is on the verge of spending $1 trillion a year just servicing its debt. It spends about $6.6 trillion and it only collects about $4.6 trillion in revenues. So you can see that this situation is, rapidly taking a turn for the worse. You might want to consider some gold and silver. And that is why that we've done a partnership deal with Goldco and we've created LotusEatersGold.com. Go and check that out. It's an offer for our American viewers. You can transfer a proportion of your IRA into this, and if you do so, you're going to get some of this lovely stuff, some bonus silver thrown in on top, up to $10,000. Or you can even take delivery of the physical gold to your home address if you prefer. So if you want money that goes clang when you put it down, check out LotusEatersGold.com.
You won't get this reference, but let me just check in the first place. Have you ever watched a film from Japan from the 80s called Akira?
I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
Well, there's a part at the end of that film where the villains have created this techno-global human world where everybody has like bits and pieces. Basically, it's created some kind of blob creature that can basically just create its own mass and start to grow larger and larger and larger. And the entire last third of the film is just this mass growing larger and larger and larger and eventually absorbing a football stadium. And Lizzo reminds me of that.
Yeah, Lizzo culture is very much that. It's the phenomenon of you should be celebrated no matter how many vices you accrue, no matter how much absence of talents you have, just because the regime wants to promote your particular lifestyle.
Should we explain exactly who Lizzo is, just in case there have been anybody watching this podcast who's been able to live in the blissful ignorance of not knowing who Lizzo is, and why specifically she seems to have become a figurehead for what the online right in particular is pointing at and saying that's not what we want. That's the exact opposite, but it's also what America is doing to everywhere.
So Lizzo is a fat black female singer who has done great hits like Truth Hurts, ironic. She's also the person who sang the opening new tune in the Barbie film, where they introduced the matriarchy as idyllic, which is rather hilarious because she seems to be the gelatinous mass.
She was in Barbie?
She did the main song for the opening credits of it. And people complain because Lizzo gets every opportunity to be uplifted by the mainstream, including by the Daily Mail, who keeps putting up articles of her in revealing outfits despite being grotesquely overweight.
Well, the Daily Mail puts all sorts of grotesque freak shows in the sidebar.
Yes, but at least some of them are conventionally attractive women, even if I don't want to see scantily clad women next to my professional news articles. Lizzo is just an eyesore. She was also one of the generative forces, as well as Megan Thee Stallion, one of the people that did WAP, behind Hot Girl Summer, which was promoting women.
That was the Ben Shapiro hit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Great collaboration. Where women were encouraged to go out and be sexually lewd and indulge in bacchanalia after being locked up for so long. Lizzo also did a TED talk a little while ago where she said that twerking was the expression of intergenerational trauma from slavery, and so you could release that trauma by shaking your buttocks in public. And then the Library of Congress gave her James Madison.
I remember that,
which even he never played, to play on stage. So it was a symbolic endorsement of the new regime that is bereft of morality and putting up anyone who is a minority because of some misguided sense of white guilt by the elites, circumventing, overthrowing the traditional founding of America. And so that's why she's ultimately reviled. She's an export of global homogeneity and sexually insatiable morality. So yes, well, before we get on to the rest of the narrative, John, please don't bring things randomly up. We've got Contemplations to shill. This is Josh's Contemplations 131 on what makes good music, and this was actually a really great roundtable that we had to record twice because growing pains of the new studio.
Yes.
This is with Josh, Stelios, Rory, and yourself. Harry, would you count Lizzo among good music?
I wouldn't count her as music, so I'm no, not in the slightest. There's a pantheon of fantastic black artists from the latter half of the 20th century.
Jimi Hendrix is up there, for example.
Jimi Hendrix. We've got Chuck Berry there. I'm quite partial to jazz music, so I'm a big fan of people like Miles Davis. There are plenty of black artists who have been out there and created a pantheon of fantastic and highly influential music. Even these days, right now, I can count among people who I consider to be fantastic artists, even if I'm not a huge fan of his music. Somebody like Tosin Abasi, who performs in an instrumental band called Animals as Leaders.
I really like The Weeknd, frankly.
So there's plenty of fantastic black artists out there, and instead of putting somebody like Tosin Abasi at the forefront of the culture, who writes, once again, it's not really to my taste, but he does write incredibly powerful and impressive music. Instead, you get Lizzo's put out there, and happily, this was a Lizzo-free zone. And so if you want to experience high culture and some good taste outside of the realm of influence that Lizzo occupies, watch this video. Also, Rory's in it.
Yeah, and so we're going to ruin your day, unfortunately, by making your day not a Lizzo-free zone, because we're going to go through the allegations which have been leaked to NBC, and this was exclusive. So, 3 of Lizzo's former dancers have accused the singer of sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment in a lawsuit filed on Tuesday. The dancers accused Lizzo, a performer known for embracing body positivity and celebrating her physique. I mean, I'm sorry.
Wobbling around like jelly.
Yeah, she's. Do you remember those little fat weeble people with the circular bottom you can never tip over?
Lizzo is, in fact, one of the other reasons, and I know Carl disagrees with me on this, but Carl is just frankly wrong on this, that I consider our elites to be evil. Because, realistically speaking, I've seen some people argue that, if you've got music that's popular, it's only as a result of the marketplace and it's just what people want. No, I've been in the music industry myself. I know that just like any other politically active zone of influence, you have people who act as gatekeepers, and then there are people within marketing departments within these larger companies, the record companies, who will push music onto the radio stations, who are all in collaboration with one another to make sure that you get what they want you to get. Okay? And I see Lizzo and Lizzo's image as just another reason why our elites are completely evil, because she is so clearly hideous. She is so clearly obese in a way that I find personally, and this is my opinion, revolting. And it's an insult. It's a literal aesthetic insult for her to be the person who is now defining the new beauty standards. And everybody can recognize that, but they're pushing her on us anyway because of the fact that they know she's offensively ugly.
But this is the funny thing. People's revealed preferences are more indicative of what they actually value versus what the elite are forcing them top down. And Tim Pool has a great analogy.
Oh, yes.
He did it with Dylan Mulvaney, but he's also done it with Lizzo, of where he says, yeah, women don't think Lizzo's beautiful. Because if they say Lizzo's beautiful, and then you go, hey, you remind me of Lizzo, they'll get really offended.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, exactly. People default to the male gaze every time. Anyway, so they're accusing her of calling attention to one dancer's weight gain, and later berating, then firing that dancer after she recorded a meeting because of a health condition. The suit was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court and provided to NBC News by the plaintiffs. It also accuses the captain of Lizzo's dance team of proselytizing to other performers and deriding those who had premarital sex, while sharing lewd sexual fantasies, simulating oral sex, and publicly discussing the virginity of one of the plaintiffs. The suit does not say if Lizzo knew about the allegations linked to the dance captain, Shirlene Quigley, but the plaintiffs believe the singer was aware of their complaints about her, according to their lawyer, Ron Zambrano. Go for it.
I have so many questions.
You're only going to have more as we go on.
What? So Lizzo fat-shamed a dance. Okay, that's really got a sting if Lizzo is saying that you're too fat. And her captain of the dance team was telling everybody off for not embracing Christian virtue and engaging in premarital sex, whilst also at the same time being a filthy degenerate.
And going to sex parties, as we'll learn.
And also just dancing for Lizzo in the first place, who is one of the many overly sexualized female performers that pop music pushes onto people.
Well, when Lizzo went to Tennessee after the Tennessee drag ban, she invited lots of drag queens on stage as a deliberate thumb in the eye to the people who were legislating against child endangerment. And this is the point of this segment as well. I know some people may genuinely not care about celebrity drama, but because she has been foisted on us by the gatekeepers of the music industry, by the American government that allowed her to have an artifact of the founding fathers, she is an totem of social and moral decay. And she is only getting cancelled now because she is not living up to the values that the elites would like to push on us. It's not like the elites have had a sudden awakening, or members of our own inner circle and have gone, maybe this is acid on women's ability to care for dependents, and maybe this is acid on relationships, and maybe shortening your lifespan by eating yourself to death is not the best thing. No. It is that she is somehow anti-black and anti-fat.
Wait, how is she anti? She is fat, and she is black.
But not enough, Harry. She's not an authentic fat black voice.
I mean, one of the most annoying things I've experienced recently is when I've been going on YouTube for a long time, for about 2 months straight, every single time I would get an advert for PayPal that would have this annoying song playing, and there would be a fat black woman in sweatpants and a yoga top or something stretching about, and it's supposed to be, oh, look at how healthy she is, healthy at any size.
No.
They're going to get her in. She's going to be Lizzo 2.0.
They're going to swap her out.
And nobody's
It's like the Avril Lavigne conspiracy theory with it.
Yeah,
definitely. The suit names Lizzo, whose real name is Melissa Vivian Jefferson, her production company, and Quigley as defendants. In addition to accusations of a hostile work environment and sexual harassment, the suit brings claims for religious and racial harassment, false imprisonment, interference with prospective economic advantage, and other allegations. Quote,
false imprisonment?
It gets mad.
Has she gone Captain Beefheart on her own backing dancers or something?
Just you wait. The stunning nature of how Lizzo and her management team treated their performers seems to go against everything Lizzo stands for publicly, while privately she weight shames her dancers and demeans them in ways that are not only illegal but absolutely demoralizing, Zambrano said in a statement. The suit accuses Lizzo of calling attention to the dancers' weight after an appearance at South by Southwest Music Festival. The singer and her choreographer told the dancer, Ariana Davis, that she seemed less committed to her role, a comment the suit describes as a thinly veiled concern about Davis's weight. Basically, you weren't cutting down to be a backing dancer to look good enough behind Lizzo, who looks like an agent of Nurgle. Davis and another former dancer, Crystal Williams, began performing with Lizzo after competing on her Amazon reality show, Watch Out for the Big Girls. That's all spelled with R. I assume that's a glandular problem.
I think it's taken from the Riot Girl movement from a while. It's like a punk adjacent thing where you'd not just be a punk girl, you'd be a riot girl.
Right, so they're chunk adjacent. Brilliant. In 2021, according to the suit, the dancers were later fired. The third, Noel Rodriguez, was hired the same year after performing in the video Rumors, and Rodriguez resigned earlier this year. So, here's where it gets slightly disturbing. Parental advisory warning.
This is already highly disturbing.
Oh, it gets way worse. So, they went to an Amsterdam strip club called Bannon Bar after a performance in the city. And the suit states that Lizzo's after parties were routine and non-mandatory, but that those who attended were favoured by the singer and had greater job security. So it was
I've seen some of the headlines that came from this. So yeah, if you've got a queasy stomach, maybe just mute this for the next 5 minutes or so.
I mean, if you had a queasy stomach, you shouldn't be looking at Lizzo. At the club, Lizzo allegedly began inviting cast members to take turns touching the nude performers, catching dildos launched from the performers' vaginas, and eating bananas protruding from the performers' vaginas. I mean, if that is just not the most depraved display of sexual insatiability.
It's like a painting of the fall of Sodom and Gomorrah. Honestly, it really is.
It's Slanesh behavior, yeah.
I wish I didn't have such an active imagination. But good God.
Point being.
However, happily, I can rotate this image in my mind. Lizzo might not be able to.
What on earth did you expect? Like, you've celebrated this woman for being grotesque, having insatiable appetites, and being sexually suggestive despite being ugly. So, of course, you're going to get a pervert. But why is anyone surprised? I saw people saying this wasn't on my 2023 bingo card. Yeah, maybe not this exact thing, but you really didn't expect her to have a sordid lifestyle that's akin to like a Dionysian orgy? Really? I didn't want to picture it. I don't want to listen to it. But we shouldn't be surprised if this is the kind of person you elevate for having no virtue, but empower them. Then, of course, they're going to play into their worst possible urges because you're giving them everything they want without having to earn it. And it shouldn't be shocking. Lizzo then turned her attention to Miss Davis and began pressuring Miss Davis to touch the breasts of one of the nude women. Davis declined, according to the suit. Lizzo allegedly led a chant, goading her to do so. After Davis declined 3 more times, the chant grew louder and more strident, demanding a visibly uncomfortable Miss Davis to engage with the performer. When Davis eventually acquiesced and briefly touched the performer, the group burst into laughter. Afterward, Lizzo allegedly pressured a member of her security staff to get on stage and began yelling, "Take it off," according to the suit. I also saw another article that said she whipped him with something.
Well,
It's just disgusting, yes.
It's all gross. But at the end of the day, this isn't any sort of behavior that I wouldn't expect to see from musical performers. If you go back to the 1970s and even in the 1960s, musical performers in big bands who have been very famous and rich and had certain levels of power and influence over their audience members have been able to do and get away with a lot of shady stuff. And a lot of stuff that back in the day would have been considered either normal or swept under the rug. See many allegations of singers from the 1970s, for instance, sleeping with, groupies who were as young as 14 years old. The problem was that back in those days, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, those particular artists weren't being pushed to the forefront of culture as someone who was inspirational and an attainable lifestyle to go for. A lot of people did see them as inspirational for the quality of the music that they put out and for the talent that they displayed, but the actual lifestyles these people lived behind the scenes wasn't anything that was aspirational.
And they weren't figureheads of social revolution either.
As much as I love a band like Led Zeppelin, for instance, I know that there was for a long time, and I think some of the members of the band admitted it, that they basically had a harem of 14-year-old groupies that they took on tour with them during the 1970s at one point. So nothing to be looked up to in any sense, as much as I enjoy their music. And even if you're talking about abusive behavior towards members of your entourage or band, I mentioned Captain Beefheart. You've probably not heard of him. He's an avant-garde performer from the 1970s. He used to psychologically and physically torture his band members when he was on tour with them. But it would be sometimes small stuff where he would, for instance, if his band went out live and did a really good show, the members who played particularly well, he would verbally abuse them and tell them they did terribly so that he could keep them low for some reason. He would also throw ice water on them when they were sleeping at 3 a.m. and force them to stay up the whole night so they would be deprived of sleep and exhausted for the rest of the tour. Very strange behavior, to the point where one of my favorite artists, Frank Zappa, when they were on tour together in the 1970s, decided, "I'm not friends with you anymore. We've been friends since we were kids, but now I've seen this side of you. No, I don't want to work with you, and I don't want to associate with you ever again."
Yeah, and this is part of the problem as well. Everyone surrounding Lizzo is an enabler up until this point, and what you signed up for. I mean, I have sympathy for these women because this woman is clearly a threatening and disgusting force, but also you threw your lot in with these vices that the regime are endorsing. So why are you so shocked that if you're next to the tiger when it turns to you and you're the next meal? It shouldn't be surprising. Plaintiffs were aghast with how little regard Lizzo showed for the bodily autonomy of her employees and those around her, especially in the presence of many people she employed. Again, she's only getting hoisted because consent is the only progressive moral standard, and that is clearly not enough justified by this. A week later, after a show in Paris, Lizzo invited the dancers to a club so they'd be able to learn something or be inspired by the performance. What Lizzo failed to mention when inviting the dancers was that it was a nude cabaret bar. The suit described the performance as artful, but the plaintiffs were shocked that Lizzo would conceal the nature of the event from them, robbing them of the choice to not participate. So she's an exhibitionist, as are lots of people in this contemporary movement. She's also racist and fatphobic. The racial harassment claim is linked to what the suit describes as comments charged with racial and fatphobic animus that were made by the touring company's employees. In one instance, the former dancers were asked to be compensated for their downtime at a rate of 50% of their weekly pay. An accountant allegedly responded to the request, offering 25% and scolding them for being unacceptable and disrespectful. Only the dance cast, comprised of full-figured women of colour, were ever spoken to in this manner. So, because we didn't get more money, you're racist. This, you see how creating a cabal
this is just what you would expect
of resentful, victimology, obsessed, intersectional people is just going to devour each other. I mean, I'm happy for them to just destroy their own movement, but why are we shocked? The religious harassment allegation is linked to Quigley, the dance captain. who, according to the suit, preached her Christian beliefs and took every opportunity to proselytize to any and all in her presence, regardless of protestations. After discovering Davis was a virgin, Quigley discussed the subject in interviews and posted about it on social media. When cast members asked her to stop pressuring Rodriguez, whom Quigley regarded as a non-believer, about her faith, Quigley responded, "No job and no one will ever stop me talking about the Lord." So that doesn't seem that
Who
bad,
cares?
frankly. But
Who cares? I don't understand
but-
why that has anything to do with the rest of
Yeah.
the allegations that are going on here.
yes, but it's because that woman was holding up a mirror to all of them, saying that you're engaging in sexually lewd behavior, and this might be really bad for you.
And at the same time, though, she's taking money from all of these people and working with all of these people. So I don't see where, I mean, she's a complete hypocrite in her actions, even if she's there going, even if she's there standing at the side of the nude cabaret performance going like, oh, this isn't good, guys. This isn't what Jesus would do.
Yep.
You're still there. You're still enabling it.
Yep. 2 dancers were fired in April and May. According to the suit, Williams lost her job on April 26th, days after she spoke up in a meeting in which she challenged an assertion from Lizzo that the dancers were drinking before performances. The day before, Lizzo had told the group that they would have to audition again, a move that prompted what the suit described as an excruciating 12-hour rehearsal. If Lizzo was dissatisfied with their performances, the suit alleges, the dancers would be fired and sent home. During the rehearsal, Davis was so fearful she'd lose her job if she went to the bathroom, she soiled her pants. So Lizzo literally made her dancers work until they defecated themselves.
Bloody hell.
She was then given a
Is this in
see-through.
San Francisco.
She was then given a see-through outfit with no undergarments to finish the performance. Again, I'm sorry for your
So
imagination.
ritual humiliation for
Yes.
these people as well.
Yeah, Lizzo is basically the fat black female Gigi Allen. See Count
But
Dankula's
nowhere
video.
near as entertaining.
Yes, or as good a singer. When Lizzo raised the issue again the following day, Williams responded saying the dancers didn't drink. The suit says the singer then allegedly offered what the suit described as a mocking reply, well, if you're not, then good for you. 5 days later, on April 26th, Lizzo's tour manager fired Williams in a hotel lobby. The manager attributed the termination to budget cuts, but the suit notes that no one else was fired. So we get onto the false imprisonment bit, because that's alarming.
Yeah, I want to know who she took hostage and why.
So someone took a bite of one of her packs of Oreos in the fridge.
It must
Just
have,
the final straw. She went falling down.
she took them all hostage.
Davis recorded the April 27th meeting because she suffered from an eye condition that sometimes left her disoriented in stressful situations. Okay. Days later, Lizzo held an emergency meeting and had security employees confiscate dancers' phones. Lizzo became furious, hurling expletives at the group and stated she was going to go around the room, person by person, until Lizzo was told who made the recording. Davis acknowledged recording the meeting, saying she wanted to have a copy of Lizzo's performance notes. When Davis said she hadn't meant any harm, Lizzo responded, "There is nothing you can say that makes me believe you." Miss Quigley and Lizzo took turns berating Davis. It's like some weird fat black struggle session. After castigating Miss Davis, Lizzo fired Davis on the spot. Before Lizzo left the meeting, Rodriguez told her she felt disrespected and would resign. Lizzo responded by cracking her knuckles, balling her fists, and using an expletive, not the one you're thinking of, to tell Rodriguez she was lucky. As Rodriguez left, the suit says Lizzo raised both her middle fingers and yelled a slur. She called her a bitch. It's not that one.
She just sounds like a thoroughly unpleasant person to work for.
Yeah, and when you incentivize behaviors like hers and a lifestyle like hers, you're going to get narcissism, indulgence, and petty entitlement.
And this isn't even on the same level of the 1970s degeneracy that I was describing, because at least then it was all the lads in it together, to be absolute degenerates. This is just her bullying everyone around
This
her
is
for no reason.
longhouse behavior. Basically, it is the den mother policing everyone else's behavior while also just encouraging them to indulge in insatiable sexual and gluttonous appetites. And if you offend the den mother, then you're kicked out into the cold. That's all it is. This is and this is the culture that the elites would like us all to live. No, thank you. The suit alleges false imprisonment against Lizzo because a member of her security detail allegedly forced Davis to remain in the room after the meeting ended so he could search her phone for the video.
Oh, that's weird.
Weird intimidation tactics. The suit doesn't specify a dollar amount for damages that cover emotional distress, including unpaid wages, loss of earnings, and attorney's fees. So Lizzo is being devoured. I mean, there's a lot of meat on the bone by her own progressive cabal. Other people have come out since. One of her documentary directors, it was meant to be a documentary, and she pulled out. She posted on Instagram.
Was it after she realized, hold up, everything in this will make me look terrible?
Well, she actually said, no, I've had the same experience with Lizzo. So we're getting more and more people coming out and saying, yeah,
really?
She's pretty awful.
Oh, okay.
So this is Quinn Whitney Wilson and dancer Courtney Hollinquest. For clarification, I'm not a part of the lawsuit, but this was very much my experience in the time there. Big shout out to the dancers who had the courage to bring this to light. And then Wilson shared a screenshot.
get
of
past
Hollingquist's
it. No.
statement. Yep, I'm trying to find. There we go. Echoing what Hollingquist had said. I haven't been part of that world for around 3 years for a reason. I very much applaud the dancers' courage to bring this to light, and I grieve parts of my own experience. I'd appreciate the space to understand my feelings. This is such like feminine backbiting. Like they were all in on it. They're all kind of disgusting. We shouldn't be surprised of it. One interesting detail though.
Bring back Axl Rose throwing racial slurs at members of his own audience.
Is that real?
He's done it a few times.
Oh, blimey. Elsewhere in the suit, the 3 women allege the employees of the touring company treated the black members of the dance team different than other members. Only the dance cast, comprised of full-figured women of color, were ever spoken to in this manner. So, like, yes, you've set the standard of where fat black women can't be challenged, and if you're not fat and black enough of an ally, then even if you're a fat black woman, you will be destroyed. So I'm happy to watch Lizzo destroy herself, and before Lizzo goes not so quietly into that good night. It'll be easy to find her again, I suppose, if we ever lose her. John has brought to my attention as well that she's put out a statement. We haven't read this. You can go
let's see what she says.
That's fine.
Right here. Shall I or do you?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So she said, these last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing.
You sure that wasn't just breakfast?
God's sake. My work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Her incredible, untarnished character has been criticized. Usually, I choose not to respond to false allegations, but these are as unbelievable as they sound and too outrageous to not be addressed. Once again, all that's being alleged is that you are a typical degenerate on tour, which is nothing that nobody has not seen before. These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. Carry on. As an artist, I've always been very passionate about what I do. I take my performance and my music very seriously because at the end of the day, I only want to put out the best art that represents me and my fans. Oh, how sweet. With passion comes hard work and high standards. Lizzo's high standards for her music. I'll leave that there.
High caloric standards, perhaps.
Sometimes I have to make hard decisions. 1 breakfast, 2 or 3. But it's never my intention to make anyone feel uncomfortable or like they aren't valued as an important part of the team. I'm not here to be looked at as a victim, but I also know that I am not the villain that people in the media have portrayed me to be these last few days. I am very open with my sexuality and expressing myself, far too open, but I cannot accept or allow people to use that openness to make me out to be something I am not. There is nothing I take more seriously than the respect we deserve as women in the world. I know what it feels like to be body shamed on a daily basis and would absolutely never criticize or terminate an employee because of their weight.
Around smashing mirrors.
I'm hurt, but I will not let the good work that I've done in the world be overshadowed by this. What good work? I want to thank everyone who has reached out in support to lift me up during this difficult time.
You're going to need a lot of people to lift up Lizzo.
Full stadium's worth.
Yeah, so speaking of second breakfasts, before she is cancelled, before her music becomes as unlistenable to as R. Kelly, I thought we'd let Lizzo play us out with a heartwarming
Kelly's
tribute.
At least a decent singer.
I mean, he is a hack and also a nonce. But
anyway, that's true. But
she did a heartfelt tribute to Lord of the Rings. So let's play Lizzo participating in authentic Anglo culture.
Have a cave troll.
Oh, sorry, I don't know how that got in there. That's very fat-phobic of me.
Did someone do that? Because I know you put that tweet out. Did someone just recreate that for a TikTok?
I can neither confirm nor deny that I directed our editors to do this.
Oh, excellent.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the premium book clubs, this one on Julius Evola's Fascism Viewed from the Right. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.